Everybody, what's going on? Eric here. Hope everyone's having a great Memorial Day weekend. I ended up doing a swap out of the stock pickups that were in the Squier P-Base with the Seymour Duncans. I wasn't too crazy about the sound or the tone or whatever I was getting with the stock pickups, so I got the quarter pounders made by Seymour Duncan, which I am going to have photos of the instructions at the end of this video. This is kind of the reason why I didn't make a video of swapping out the pickups, because the instructions are pretty self-explanatory and you guys have seen me do this shit several times, so I didn't even bother with it. Anyways, in the box for the Seymour Duncans, you have a set of screws. You got 8 of them to be exact. You have 3 rubber pads, 3 pickups, and 3 removable pickup covers. Now, the only problem that I came across with the installation of these are the rubber pads that you put on the bottom of the pickups. They're not thick enough. So when you adjust your pickup height, which is in the instructions of how high you should set them, you start noticing that the pickup cover is rising, but the actual pickup is kind of falling down a little bit. So a little bit more padding or foam rubber has to be added to the back of the pickup. The way I have it set up right now, it's not that big of a deal, but when I do another string change on this thing, I will end up, correcting the problem. Another problem I found with the stock pickups that came out of this thing, which, I don't know if this happened while I was taking it apart or if this was just barely making a connection on the terminal anyways on the bridge pickup. So here's the positive. It came off of the positive side of the back of the pickup. I mean, it can be very easily soldered back on. The terminals are right there. You got to be careful of how hot your soldering gun is, because you can melt the wire that is for the coil on these because it's so small. But again, this really shouldn't have happened. Now, the one thing I noticed with this is copper clad aluminum wire. Okay, this is not copper wire. Copper clad aluminum wire, when it moves a little bit or moves a lot, the strands will break off of the wire, and basically this is what's going to happen. With copper, I don't notice it that much compared to copper clad aluminum. Now, in car audio, copper clad aluminum is used because of how cheap it is. It's very cheap wire. So I can see why some of these guitar companies will use it. There's not very much voltage or amperage or anything going through this wire coming from a pickup. But I would like to see them use copper instead of this shit. In the car audio industry, copper clad aluminum, like I said, is cheap, very cheap. And all it is aluminum wires with a copper coating on them. And if you know anything about how electrical works and stuff like that, the power, the amperage and shit doesn't go through the wire, it rides the wire. Okay, so that's why there is the outside of this is got the copper coating on it. And yeah, the problem with this shit is if you're using a lot of power or using a lot of amperage, depending on the size of the wire, this can get very hot. It can cause problems. On the car audio side, with amps that are, say, if they're rated for an 8-gauge power wire, if you're using the copper clad aluminum, use 4-gauge. Don't use fucking 8-gauge. Use something that's a little bit thicker. Now, the problem with this shit is that it's just cheap. It's cheap wire, and there's too many problems with it. We've been doing car audio for I don't know how many years, and when somebody hands me a spool of like 0-gauge or 4-gauge or 8-gauge copper clad aluminum, I give it back to them and say, spend a little bit more money and get the real shit, not this shit. The reason being is when you're running power, a high-powered amplifier, the amperage doesn't move through this copper clad aluminum like it would move through regular copper. And just this wire here will have some resistance to it. And if I had another strand of copper wire at this length, there probably would be very, very minimum resistance at all in it. That's why I don't like this shit. It's garbage. But anyways, they used it on the same Squier on the bridge pickups too, or the neck pickup too on these, and these covers do not come off. And on these, I could see where they doubled up on the foam rubber pad, if you could see that or not. They actually doubled up on that. So I'm going to have to do the same thing with the Seymour Duncans. Anyways, I'm going to post this up at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. And, you know, again, you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend. Take it easy, be good to each other, and I'll see you guys next time.